Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the White Belt MMA podcast, and it's an absolute pleasure to have on the show today Jared Vanderaa, who's set to fight at UFC 271 against UFC veteran and legend Andrei Arlovski. So, Jared, how you doing today?
I'm a bit tired. Just got done with practice. Half the reason why I was running a little late today, car ride from practice here is about an hour with traffic, so I got hit with that. But besides that, it's going good. And
Where is it?
I would like to get power.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of lost.
I'm sorry.
I lost you a little bit there. No, but I was gonna ask. I was like, so you said you were just getting out of training, so I'm gonna ask you the typical question you get in most interviews, right? Preparing for a fight. How's training going? Like you said, you're a little tired, but how's training been going? Preparing for Andrei Arlovski, who's again, a legend in the game and someone that you called out or like in some previous fights that you wanted to fight, like in your time in the UFC.
So training for this fight, I feel like I'm training harder than I ever have before because I'm actually the dude's closer to retirement than him starting up his career again. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to fight him before he retires, just to not to like capitalize, but it's just this dude's a living legend, and honestly, I've been a fan of his since fucking forever. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, I want to punch him in the face before he goes. And so because of that, though, like I find myself like a lot of my like, yeah, let's go, let's push ourselves, let's do work. Boom. This camp is like, all right, I'm tired. We put in all the work that we need to. And then I'm like, but it's Arlovski. We gotta go harder. Mm-hmm. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. Like, prep for Arlovski because I don't want to come in there with me training like I normally do. I want to come in there training to really, like, not only am I going in there to fight Arlovski, I'm going in there to fight Arlovski and impress Arlovski too. Mm-hmm. Like, this dude is a legend of mine. And I called him out a few times because, like I said, he's close to retiring. And granted, he's 5 fights. He's only lost 1. So I'm just like, all right, I need to do my work against Arlovski, and and we're not getting a weak Arlovski where his chin fades every 10 seconds. We're getting an Arlovski that's standing and banging, and he's looking good for his age. And it's someone I feel like look up to and inspired to be in my later career.
Yeah, definitely, man. And then also another thing with like 271, this is actually going to be your first fight in front of a crowd, like under the UFC banner. So, like, how do you feel about that? Because I know your last couple of fights have been at the Apex with your Contender Series and your last ever one. So, how does it feel knowing that you're finally going to get that like full UFC experience, media day, and all that stuff that goes along with Fight Week?
So there's still some of that in the Apex, and there's a small in the Apex, but it's different when you have hundreds and thousands of people screaming, and they might not even screaming at you or for you, but it's just there is a kind of and it really is a different kind of like high, like you hear that, you feel it, like it is really a different type of feeling. So I'm excited to actually finally have my, like, in a sense, this is kind of my first true UFC debut because of the crowds and it big card. But at the same time, though, it's just another day in the office, and I hope with that, I could turn it up and not get caught up in the bright lights. I think because I did have those fights at the Apex, it's actually prepared me way more to fight in front of a lot more crowd.
No, yeah, definitely. And like also another thing I kind of want to ask you about too, because I was watching some of your previous interviews and they said you said that you're gonna beat out Israel Adesanya for being the biggest weeb at the UFC 271. So I do have to ask you, since you said that, what's your enemy of choice, man? Like, what do you like watching?
Well, obviously, I'm a fan. uh, um, I'm more of a comedy guy. I like more comedy animes. I'm not too big on the very serious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, granted, Gundam is a very serious anime. But like, I'm also a giant mecha person. So, and I build a shit ton of Gunplas. I have like at least 30 or 40 in the living room needing to be built. But like, recently I just caught up with Black Clover. I'm a Black Clover fan. I finished The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
Yeah.
That one I'm excited for. Devil's a Part-Timer season 2 is coming out. I'm looking forward to that. I want to say is season 5 or 6 of High School D&D. I'm just looking forward to those ones. There's one series that I'm kind of intrigued, is the End of the World's Harem, I believe it's called. I don't think it's been released, but I'm looking forward to. So I like me a lot of the comedy, more comedy based or sci-fi. Like, I enjoyed Cowboy Bebop, Vanderaa. Again, Gundam is obviously. I like that space aspect of things. So when it comes to all that, those are my two biggest genres of anime that I like. I'm not big into the horror stuff because I will say this: I feel like anime's horror game is solid. I remember in High School of the Dead, and honestly, I feel like that's one of the more creepier and like animes when it comes to zombies. And you're just like it wasn't like scary, but it just left you with when I watched it with the feeling of like kind of like disgust and with the whole situation, because you could see how people would act, and I feel like it's very realistic. Nice thing is, when you watch The Walking Dead, you could kind of okay, the makeup tree and then the real people, and it's just whereas because it's the same platform and there's you can't change a 2D character and another 2D character. Both this, so it just adds a bit of bite to it personally.
Yeah.
So that one just kind of creeped me out. And I'm not a big overall blood and guts guy. I watched more recently Blood Sea, and honestly, the storyline to me I thought was subpar, because I was just like, when is this storyline going to pick up? And all it was just one brutal kill, another brutal kill, and I was just like, okay, gore porn. I have nothing wrong with it if that's your cup of tea.
Yeah,
didn't care for it. But then I turned around and watched Kill la Kill. They had some brutal deaths in that, but you're like, oh shit, what's happening? Who's going to die next?
Yeah.
I felt like this is what people say when they watch fucking what's that big Skyrim wannabe shit.
I'm trying to think.
TV show.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name either.
Yeah, like everyone loves the show. I couldn't watch it because when I watched the first episode, all it reminded me was Skyrim.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't get into this. And I'm watching it. I'm just waiting to hear Dova King, and then just have a guy just shout. Yeah. I played Skyrim a little too much when it came out. But yeah, no, it was because I felt like how the fans felt on that show. When I was like, yeah, this character is awesome. No, he killed it off. No. But yeah, no. That was one of the few. Like I like a good storyline. I like a good plot that keeps me interested.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of arguments with high school D&D
Mm-hmm.
because everyone's like, "Oh, it's just for the boobs." It's just. I'm like, yes and no. If it didn't have all that, it wouldn't be the same because Issei Hodo is a very perverted person. That his whole being is driven by that, and it drives the character in it. And taking that away actually takes away a lot of his character development. And I know in like season 2 is basically one of my favorite parts. Basically, someone shouts to him like, "Hey, this dude's power is going to cut everything in half." And it's like he's going to cut the bus line of Rhea Screamery in half. And he thought about that, and like to him, the whole world crumbled at that thought. Man. Loses like just like he was like no, and he just turns on his like he basically goes Super Saiyan and just beats the living shit out of Val, and you're just like, oh, that's all he needed to be motivated.
Yeah. And
it builds the character. So I like the funnier, maybe a little bit more sometimes on the raunchier side every now and then. And good mind definitely plays a big part for me.
I do have to ask you though, right? Because like I know, like most anime peeps, especially on my end too, is like we like going to those conventions, we like cosplaying. But for you, like, is cosplaying your thing? Like if there's a convention nearby where you live, you're like, you know what? Let's create our own cosplay and go and have some fun. Or you're just there like, nah, man, cosplay ain't for me. I'll just stick to the anime watching.
I have done one cosplay, and that was Dr. Stein from Soul Eater.
Yeah. I
actually did it more recently. I did it on Halloween. I did for the kids. I did the whole cosplay thing. But as much as I would be down to do cosplay, I find it hard to find a character that suits me because a lot of main characters are basically average. Like because I know a lot of the characters are meant to just be average people, and they could reflect and feel like they could like draw to it. Like a great example is Deku from My Hero Academia. Just he is literally the definition of average, but he's always been a hard worker and has very creative use of his mind that it eventually leads him to the chances of him gaining the ability of All Might. So with that, like it's very hard to find a really big person that I fit. Like especially like when I grow my beard. There's not a lot of big bearded dudes in anime.
Yeah.
I was like the closest like two big dudes I think of is Chad from Bleach. Well, I don't have the hair for it. And the other one I think a lot because I could maybe do it is Lieutenant Arms from Full Metal Alchemist. I was like, those are like the two that come to mind, but most of them you get average stats, average main character, and they just kind of all blend together. And kind of hard.
No, I got you.
And to be honest, I can't buy the clothes because half of them would be like a third of my size. And then 2, I don't have the artistic ability to make a lot of good clothing with like characters that I can more or less disguise myself as.
Yeah.
That'd be harder. I'm not as good as some of these cosplay models cosplay models are. I don't have that ability. So that's I let other people enjoy it a lot more. It's just if I can, if I can't, I mean, I'm okay with it.
No, I got you. I mean, I feel like you can pull off. I don't know if you ever seen this anime right before, but it's called My Love Story, and like the main character, like it's like this like big hulking guy. It's a comedy, so if you have never watched, I feel like you should give it a watch. Only like 10 episodes, but like seeing that character and seeing you, I feel like you can pull it off. So who knows? Maybe watch the anime. Maybe you can do that later on for your next cosplay. Just throwing ideas out there.
Yeah, I'm not against it. Like when I did Stein, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be more of a beefier Stein, but like I could do the trench coat, I could do the vet, I could do his sweater, I could do gray makeup, I could do all that. That like it was a very doable character without it like losing its integrity, I guess.
Yeah.
But one cosplay I want to do, and I think I could kind of pull it off, is maybe a Asnabal from Gundam. That's one of the cosplays I want to do, and I feel like I kind of pulled that one off. So
there you go. No, yeah, definitely. And then also like another thing like that you were talking about, like in the whole anime and the whole and this and that, I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit, that you were talking about some of the characters being hardworking and your average Joe. But for you, dude, like I want to talk about your start in combat sports. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to you too. Is just like, how'd you get into it, man? Because it's like, most people, right? They usually get into it through their families. Other people, they just stumble upon it. So for you, like, what was your start to your combat sports journey?
okay, so I started out like, despite my recent fights in the UFC, I started out as a wrestler.
Yeah.
And I got into wrestling because it was I did football, and I was like, you know what, I want to try this wrestling thing. My freshman year, football great. Then I broke my hand right at the start of wrestling season, so I basically missed my freshman year. Then my sophomore year, I came and I started playing football, but the football coach was just a fucking dick. I couldn't stand. I didn't like his mentality. He kind of gave me those like redneck vibes that you're just like, it's like you peaked in high school type of thing, and you're trying to relive your glory days through other high school students. And I'm just like, vibe. And I was coming to school late. I was late for something. I think it's because I used to watch my brothers like damn near full time in high school. So I think I was watching my brother, and I was waiting for the babysitter to come, and they were running late. So I was late to school. I'm late, and the police officer at school campus stopped me. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I'm gonna get truancy, something. He's gonna maybe think I'm ditching. He goes, hey, you're bigger. I'm like, yeah, I'm only 6'2" right now. He goes, do you want to wrestle? I was like, I'm the wrestling coach here. He goes, our practices are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm like, and I'm still in football at this time. I'm like, let me maybe after season.
Yeah.
That week, me and the coach just go at it. Like we like, he was like, you're garbage. You'll never mount to anything. You don't do anything. And I'm just like, at that moment, I'm just like, you know what, fuck this dude. I'm like, I can't have this guy just belittling me. I'm just like, fuck it. I'm like, I quit. I go in the wrestling room and I just start wrestling. I'm like I'm getting my ass kicked, but I'm like, this is fun. Boom, 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 boom. A couple months later, football season's out. I've actually gotten. I'm not the best, but I'm okay. I do my first few tournaments. They're all right. Then I take out the guy for varsity. And then he quits, and then I basically do varsity and JV. And then I had a good run through my junior and senior year. My senior year, I get some plaguing me that don't allow me to go to higher than I could have. But like right after season, there was a giant spread in one of our like basically school newspapers for primetime MMA. I'm like, all right, let me, I want to check this out. I go in there, and like now I'm fully grown. I'm like 6'4", and my size now. I was only like 220 though, like a skinnier, because I go in and I sign up. And I remember when I signed up, I talked to a few of the guys afterwards. They're like, is there something wrong with this guy? He had his mom sign him up. It's like, is he mentally? And then I remember my coach was like, yeah, no, everyone thought you were mentally off. And I'm like, oh. Goes, and then he goes, their facial reactions when I told them that you were just 17. And I was just like, oh, how was that? They're like, they all freaked out.
Yeah.
So immediately, like in first week, we're just working. I know nothing about striking. But I've always been intrigued with it. I've like the movie Kickboxer, Bloodsport, anything with Van Damme. And I was just like, this is fucking awesome. So I really just pick up on this striking thing. And you know, from there, like a couple months into it, I was just like, you know what? I really do enjoy this. I don't see college working out for me because of like my financial living situation. Like, I'm going to make a big risk. You go somewhere with this sport.
Yeah.
And from then, I just literally just made all the sacrifices to maintain the growth of my growth into the sport. A lot of people don't like hearing this, but like I cut off friends, I cut off family, I cut off. I told me like no, like a lot of people like will be like, oh, my mom is my biggest supporter. My mom and me butted heads, and like love my mom, and she even nowadays she's still like, oh, I was your biggest supporter. I'm like, Mom, there's been plenty of times that you definitely have tried to bring me down. You would always make excuses on why I shouldn't continue this. And I just had to work through all these, you know, like people that called friends and family that I had to actually really like, you know, put them in a place where they're like their friends and family, but they're not going to be what helps you succeed. It's just going to be you and you alone. Yeah. Like I did have some support from one of my exes. She supported me, and even though it didn't work out, you know, I kind of knew that if I was to date again, I needed a woman that understands that this is my career choice and I'm goal driven. This, and now I have another one, another girl, and you know, we have 2 kids. We own a business. We own technically 2 or 3 businesses between us. And it's just one of those things where it's like, if she wasn't supportive and understood my lifestyle or my life choices, you know, it wasn't going to work out between us. And, you know, she's still, you know, even though we own a MMA gym, there are certain things about this fully doesn't understand, but she's like, I support you. The only thing that does not support me, and this is what makes me like want to strangle her a little bit, she doesn't like the fact that like right now I'm cutting weight. Big food person. So is she. So she'll bring, like yesterday, I want to choke her a little bit because she bought enchiladas.
Oh man,
ate them in front of me.
Awesome.
Oh, I was like, girl, like how domestic violence happens. Like, you just don't bring enchiladas in front of someone cutting weight. Like, the fuck? I did still buy. I can't lie. Like, I love enchiladas. I wish my girl would make more enchiladas too. Like,
see, but that makes the time.
She has that family recipe. Yeah. But like, she goes, yeah, all my aunties they sat me down and taught me how to cook. I'm like, fucking appreciate that. And then like she gets mad at me because sometimes I'll like buy corn tortillas, like because I don't know how to make tortillas. Like I know it's not complex. It's corn and some water and some, you know, I can get around with it, but I'm also lazy. She's like, I'll fucking make you tortillas. I have the tortilla right here. My bad. Yeah, no, she makes her too. So like I get all the full homemade enchiladas.
There you go. No, there you go. And then Jared, like also another thing, like they kind of like you were talking about there, right? Just having them like the most important people that like actually support your dream and are behind you all the way. Whether that be, they'll be bringing the enchiladas when they're not supposed to, but they're still supporting you. They're still helping you everywhere possible. But you think that's the most important thing, especially for someone in whatever field it is, right? Like, for you it was fighting, for other people it could be other things and following their dreams. Do you think that they always need that little support group to kind of make them kind of push on those days that, like, you're probably down on yourself and you're either debating if this dream's even worth it? In some people's cases, do you think that the support group is the most important thing?
Yes and no, because the support group scamming.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there's one guy I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to call him out or say his record, because his record it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'll lie about his record, but you'll understand like the extreme. His record's like 1-15.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And trust me, I'm softening a little because it's a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
But he has a great support group, and they
Mm-hmm.
encourage him to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you are getting your ass kicked
Mm-hmm.
by everybody, and you think it's acceptable. And he's like, oh, my friends say I'm getting better. Like, but you're not, though.
Mm-hmm.
And right there, they're enabling him to chase his dream where it's clearly not working out for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not growing. He's not getting better. He's like just hurting himself to hurt himself now. Like, and he's not even making real money off of this. Like, there's nothing. I don't hate the person, but there's nothing he's doing that's basically a positive outcome for him to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've met guys that had like 5-5 records, but then turn it up and then like go on 10-fight tear or something like that. But they start making money. They start making themselves worth something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, dude, you go on a big tear to kind of like bring even eyes to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing that. But his support group is like he's the greatest thing on the planet.
Yeah. And
I think that's going to eventually hurt him. Mm-hmm. So having a support group can be good, but it can also be, there's a dark side to everything, that you like he has a bunch of yes men.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, do it, you're great. Like, you need a small support group, but you also need that support group to be real and honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, there was a time where, like, me and my girl, she goes, yo, if you can't win these next 2 fights, it's either you're going to retire or I'm going to relieve.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to leave. She goes, I can't see you getting hurt. I have to have you step up your game. We have to change things. If we have to change things,
mm-hmm.
you need to win these upcoming. If you don't, I'm going to leave you. She goes, because you're not, your career is not helping us financially. We have a kid. I need you to step it up or retire. And of course, obviously, I chose stepping it up. So much easier.
Yeah.
But like having a real moment like that matters, because she cares enough to know that, like, she knows that I want this to be a dream. Mm-hmm. But there's a point in time where you have to, this isn't getting me anywhere. This is doing more damage than good. It put a strain on my relationship. It put, all this stuff. So for her to sit there and be like, yo, like putting that ultimatum on me, it sucks to hear. Mm-hmm. But sometimes having someone do that every now and then, pushing you to do better, is a good thing.
No, 100%, man. 100%. And I'm with you on that one, dude. And like I said, it's like you said, a support group can either be a pro or a con for anybody in any situation. So, I'm happy that you said that. So, Jared, I once again I have to say this is probably a fun interview, especially with all the anime stuff that we went through and like your early start and like from football and like you eventually got to wrestle and you went from there. But I have to ask you one last thing before we finish the interview is tomorrow a big fight is happening in your division. Cyril Gane versus Francis Ngannou. I need your predictions, man, because I've been buzzing about this fight. A lot of people are saying that like the promotion hasn't been all up to stellar, but I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about because this fight's insane.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about even the anime community and the MMA community, the one thing that they are very toxic and very uninformed. But like the uninformed is mainly the MMA community, not so much the anime, but
yeah,
very toxic between both communities. But when it comes to being uninformed and uneducated, MMA fans are some of the most irritating people sometimes to deal with. Yeah, they'll be like, oh, like I'll get into my prediction in a second, but like
no, by all means.
Say, like, they're like, oh, Francis isn't getting paid a lot. Like he gets paid a lot. Like the contract numbers are like 500,000. Yes, that's not a lot, but it is. And I'll explain why in a second. But he also gets the pay-per-view, like he gets a percentage of pay-per-view, and there is a lot more money on that side of it that no one talks about.
Yeah.
Now, this is where, like, if you are a big name like McGregor, okay, like everyone's into McGregor, but the one thing McGregor did was beat McGregor. Now, Francis, all of them, he was being Francis by knocking people out. And I think if he didn't talk so much, but just kept on knocking people out and showing that he could knock people out, more people would be enticed to watch him instead of hearing all this talk about, well, I want to box, I want to do this, I want to do that. I think he had more of the just ominous, if he kind of took more of a Fedor approach, like just quiet and murdering people, I think it would have been a bigger selling point. And then the fact that, yeah, even if he didn't go that route, but he didn't talk about his contract, there's already a selling point of him and Cyril Gane being training partners. Yeah, and I think that entices more people too. So I think there's a lot of ways that it could have been built up better from Francis's side.
Yeah,
not so much the UFC. I think the UFC did a great job promoting it. I think it's that didn't promote it enough. Because I remember hearing Dana White say that I'm giving you the platform, make it your own.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Like on my fight card, there's Tai Tuivasa and Derek Lewis. Yeah. These two gentlemen are great at doing that. Yeah. Like we don't even need Izzy and Whitaker anymore. We have Tai Tuivasa and Derek Lewis. That right there can sell a pay-per-view. Yeah, because of who they are.
Straight violence on that fight.
Yeah, so I mean, but because of who they are, they have that personality that gravitates everyone towards them. Now, Francis has that with, and then has that storyline with former teammates. That right there, that's all needed. But him talking about money and stuff, I think hindered some people from watching it, or swayed people to go the other way, because some people don't want to hear about some of that stuff. And then like I heard Francis was like, oh, I don't have enough money for camp, I need like 500,000. I'm like, first of all, who the fuck are you training with that's cost that much to bring? Granted, I did bring Rico Verhoeven in, and so I was like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So you brought in the king of kickboxing. But it was just one of those things where I think if he should have kind of took a step back from talking about the politics, the money, and just kind of focused on that to bring more people's attention to that instead of like the negative side of the UFC, but to more of the positive side of him and his opponent's fight. And honestly, like $500,000 is a lot of fucking money, considering if like I know we get compared to NFL, but if you compete 3 times a year for even like 10 to 20 grand, like that's a lot of money, considering that there's people that play 18 games and then and barely make 500,000, and they played 18 games.
Yeah.
And they might just, granted, yeah, one sport's definitely harder, but let's say you play 18 games for 3 or 4 hours every week. You don't see fighters fighting 20 hours 18 times a week. No, we couldn't do that. That would kill fighters.
Yeah.
We fight 3 to 4 times a year. Some people a little bit more, some people a little less, for 15 to 25 minutes. So incompromisable. There's some like given now your big names. Do I think they should get paid a little bit more? Yes. If they're especially if they're carrying a lot, like again, McGregor. I do think Francis, has a good argument to be paid more because motherfucker is Francis. But maybe not so much considering it's his first title defense. Like I feel like it would have a better argument when he was like, I held the belt the longest, more than anyone else. Like things like that. I think make like we need to discuss more as a community.
Yeah.
But being said, between Francis and Ciryl Gane, I want to lean. Okay, so I definitely think either fighter can easily win this.
Yeah,
we're all clear on that. But I'm gonna lean to the technician by submission.
By submission.
Yep.
What submission though? What's that? Your heel hook, rear naked choke?
I'm leaning towards either a heel hook or a rear naked.
Okay.
I don't know why. I feel like Ciryl Gane has it to take, not take him down, but to choke him out.
Yeah. All right.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be real interesting,
like,
especially.
That'd be funny if it's just a whole wrestling fight, no strikings, but them just wrestling each other.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, for me as a fellow grappling fan, someone that trains jiu-jitsu, I honestly wouldn't mind it. But I know it's not the type of fight that everyone wants to see. So, like you said, but I'm hoping the submission happens. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
it'd be a Derek Lewis and Francis fight.
Yeah, but
would be. Oh, they need a rematch.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And that's another reason I kind of want Ciryl Gane to win.
Yeah,
and I want Derek Lewis to beat Tai Tuivasa. So there's a chance where we could get that Francis Derek Lewis fight too.
Yeah, that'll be if anything, that'll be a nice card too. Especially hopefully if Francis does lose, hopefully he does re-sign with the promotion. But like you said, if he does, Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou too, that has to be the matchup. But I also have to ask you though, the co-main event, the trilogy between Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo. What do you think there? Because for me, I'm still trying to think about it. I'm like, I think it's going to the decision, but I can't decide who's gonna win that fight.
I have Brandon. I have a bit more bias because we are under the same management team. So I have a little bit of bias to that. And plus, like I live in Southern California,
Yeah.
Like my demographic, my family, my friends are predominantly Mexican, and they are excited having a Mexican champion.
Yeah.
And for me, being an owner of an MMA gym, everyone likes to go to boxing. But when Brandon Moreno won, actually a lot more people just interested in straight MMA. So as a business owner, I like having him. Don't get me wrong, I like Figueiredo. I think having Brandon be a champ, I think is great for me business wise. I know like my friends and family that support him. Sorry about this.
No worry, it's pretty funny.
So like as a business person and stuff like that, I do think him being champ is awesome. And honestly, I like him as a character. I like it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he himself is a little bit nerdy. He likes his Legos.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. Like, so I can't hate a guy that likes Legos, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like you said, too likable of a guy. You can't do that. You can't do that. Especially him. They're giving him like the UFC logo, like Lego made out of belt. Like, yeah, that he's the guy.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, I like Figgy because I like the Kratos thing, and I'll and I'm a big gamer too, and I'm just like, oh, that's so dope. Well, I just, you know, like my bias for right now, I want him to win.
No, yeah.
And honestly, I think what he did in that second fight really showcased that dude's skills. And I think he could repeat himself. The only downside, I just wish this fight was a little bit later in their careers, like maybe one more year. Instead of doing the trilogy fight in like under like, was it 15 months or something like that?
Yes, something like that,
they fought in 2019 or 2020. Then they fought again sometime in like 2021, and now they're fighting early 2022.
Yeah,
like it just kind of like hits almost a whole year, and it sucks because I feel like they're jumping this trilogy way too fast.
Yeah,
and I think we miss out on potentially having a phenomenal trilogy in the future. But I do maybe if you know, if Figgy wins, it can maybe open up to like the first like 5 fight, because if he wins and Moreno wins, they have one more for the 5th and final showdown.
Yeah,
that's possible, and they're both still young enough to possibly have a total of 5 fights together. And I think that'd be I'd be interesting to see like the first 5 back and forth fights between those two.
Yeah, it would be kind of like the MMA's version of like Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez, which will be pretty cool. But and especially it's a Mexican fighter in there, so it'll be pretty cool. So yeah, no, Jared. Like once again, dude, I want to say this was probably one of like the most funnest interviews I've had in a while. Once again, thank you for coming on. But before we go, though, do you want to plug in all the social medias that people watching can go here and follow you?
Yeah. If you want to chat with me, talk to me, find me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. TikTok and Instagram are my 2 more frequent ones I tend to do things on. Twitter, Twitter's just not meant for me.
Yeah.
And Facebook is linked to my Instagram, so anything that I post on Instagram goes to Facebook. But you can find all those under my name, Jared Vanderaa. Yeah, and you know, thank you for having me on this. I appreciate being on here.
Yeah, man. Like I said, once again, thank you, and to everyone watching, peace.